Maybe we can do one now and one after the next lecture. And so on.
Peter Leithart, Doctor of Philosophy. Mr. Professor, will you please answer some important eternal questions? Evil appearance, spiritual war, what has the Lord created a human being for, the aim of existence and the final purpose of a human being?
Let me take each of those questions in turn. The question of the origin of evil is a complicated, difficult one, of course. The Westminster Confession says that sin came into the world because Adam was left to the freedom of his own will. God permitted him to make a free decision, and he decided to eat the forbidden fruit, and he decided to do something evil and sinful. Why God did that, I think we have to say, is a mystery and part of God's own purposes. But what we can say about it is that the problem of evil is something that God addresses on the cross. God doesn't leave the world in the grip of evil. He doesn't leave death to reign. He doesn't leave sin to reign. And he doesn't leave the task of redeeming the world or saving the world to someone else. He himself takes the burden of removing death and removing sin. God has created a world. God has permitted evil to enter, but God himself deals with the problem of sin. I think our answer to the question of the problem of evil has to center on that. The gospel, in a sense, the gospel of Jesus bearing our sins on the cross, is in a sense the biblical Christian answer to the problem of evil.
Do you think that a human being was created to conquer, to fight the evil, to eliminate the evil?
Yes, I believe human beings are created to combat evil. I think that Adam's sin was a sin, a failure to do that. He didn't fight against the serpent as he was supposed to do. He was supposed to be resisting the serpent and protecting his bride, and he failed to do that. What Paul tells us in the New Testament is that we now have been given weapons that are more powerful than any earthly weapon. We've been given spiritual weapons, the weapons of prayer, the weapons of the preaching of the gospel, the weapons of charity and good works. And these weapons are actually more effective in overcoming evil than any physical weapons. So we carry on that battle, we carry on that spiritual battle in ourselves because we are still sinners and we need to fight against the evil that's still in us. And we carry on that battle, as Paul says, against principalities and powers in the heavenly places. And we carry on that battle with these spiritual weapons that God has given us.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Professor, can you tell me about yourself? You graduated of philosophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did my doctoral studies at the University of Cambridge in Cambridge, England. I wrote my dissertation on the issue of baptism. I've written a number of biblical commentaries and other books. I have a wife and 10 children, and will soon have my 12th grandchild.
Mm-hmm. The aim of the existence and the final purpose of a human being.
The Westminster Shorter Catechism begins with the question, what is the final end of man? The end of man is to serve God and enjoy Him forever, to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. That's one way of stating the purpose of man. I think we could state it in other ways. The final purpose of human beings is to be united to God, to be brought into the fellowship of the Father, Son, and Spirit. Through the Spirit, we are united to the Son, and so we enter into that triune fellowship. We could also say that the purpose of humanity is to be the rulers of creation under God. God created Adam as a servant, but He created Adam to grow up to be a king and a prince and to rule over the creation. Jesus is the last Adam who now rules over all the creation, but He's elevated us and exalted us as kings and queens in order to rule. So that's also part of the purpose of human beings.
Thank you very much for your grace, God.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You are. Great.